All right, in this lesson today, we are going to look at the way your Mac is laid out. And even if you're using an operating system that's a couple years old or 4 or 5 years old, it's going to look virtually the same as what I'm doing today. So you've got three different main areas when you look at your Mac screen. At the very top, you're going to have the menu bar. And the menu bar, it has a couple different sections we'll go over in just a moment. The middle part is going to be your desktop. The desktop is an area where you can drop files, documents, pictures. You can see attached external drives. You might see your main internal drive listed here. And then at the very bottom, we have the dock. And the dock, all the dock is a collection of shortcuts to either open up an application very quickly, or you can also store some files, documents, whether it's a spreadsheet or a PDF or a whole folder. You've got this little divider line here in between. So everything to the right is a document or a file. Everything to the left is going to be a program or application that you've dropped down here. And these can be moved around however you want. They can be completely removed from the dock. And you can easily add an application just by going to your applications folder and dropping it in the dock like this. And we'll go over that in a little bit more detail in a later lesson. So the three main areas, the menu bar, the desktop, and the dock down here. Now we're going to look at the menu bar in a little bit more detail. So you've got essentially three different areas to the menu bar. At the very top left, you're always going to get the little Apple menu. In the Apple menu, these options that you see here are always going to be the same. They never change. You can always go to About This Mac to find out more information about, let's say, how full your Mac is getting, how much RAM you have on it, things of that nature. You can go to System Preferences. We'll cover that in a lot more detail later. You could go directly to the App Store. You can see some recent items. So these are applications you've recently opened up, as well as documents that you might have recently opened and saved. You can force quit an application. This is really handy. So if you have something that freezes or misbehaves, let's say that Safari or Firefox just freezes up on you, you can force quit it directly from here. And then the other couple options, you have your sleep, restart, shutdown, and login out of your Mac are all available right here. All right. So next to the right of the Apple menu, these are going to change. So these are contextual menus. What I mean by that is depending which application you're currently using, you're going to get varying options up here. So right now I've got the Finder and I've got a number of options available. And we're going to cover the Finder in the next lesson in a lot more detail. But let's say that you go to the App Store. The App Store is going to have a very limited amount of options. You can navigate to different sections of the store from here. You can minimize the window, a couple things, but basically super limited options from the App Store. If on the other hand you're using something like Microsoft Word, you're going to have a lot more options available to you. It's a much more complex program. Tons of menus are going to be available with sub-menus listed in there. So essentially, the more complex the application you're using, the bigger this menu bar is going to get with a lot more options. Next, we're going to have the Menulets section. So I'm using a little tool right now to hide a lot of what's going on so it's not so distracting for you. But if I go ahead and click on this, the Menulets are these little helper tools that let you see whether you're on Wi-Fi. You could see the date and time. You can see, or you can actually turn on or off Bluetooth. You can see your time machine backup and when was the last backup, to which drive. So there's a host of different things that might come up here depending which software you have installed on your machine. And these are really handy. You can customize it, and I'll show you that later. You can remove stuff from here if it just gets on your nerves. All right, so we're going to close this up. The Spotlight button is always going to be up here. Really super handy tool. We're going to have a whole section devoted to Spotlight. Spotlight lets you search your whole computer. Your name, the username, whoever's logged into the computer is going to be listed right here. And then finally we have the notification center. And if you click on this, you can customize this area to see weather, stocks, calendar events, all sorts of stuff. So next we are going to look at the way your Mac organizes itself. And the easiest way to see this is by double clicking on your hard drive, your Macintosh hard drive or whatever name you've given it. If you don't see it here, it's because the last couple of years Apple has decided to kind of tuck this away. So the way to make that appear on your desktop, if you want to, is by making sure you're in the Finder. So you can just click on the little Finder icon or click anywhere in the background here. And when you see Finder, you could go to Preferences, and under General, you're going to have an option to show these items on desktop. So if you disable hard disk, that hard drive goes away. If you click on that again, it shows back up. All right, so if I double click on the Macintosh hard drive, you have 4 main folders. They're always going to be there. You may have a couple extra ones. For a while they were putting manuals and a couple other things in here, but these are the core 4 folders that need to be there for your Mac to work properly. So one of the folders is an applications folder. You have 2 folders here, library and system, which are really important folders, but basically you never really need to get in here and touch these. If we go looking inside the library, these are all the little help files that programs need to run on your computer in order for things to go smoothly. So it's a bunch of really geeky stuff, or some of it not so geeky, just like screensavers, you got fonts, you've got your different preferences. So if I step back out of here, so library, and a very similar one here is system, and that is specific to all the Apple only software. So you got keyboard layouts, you've got a bunch of different things that start up when you boot up your computer, bunch of stuff, startup items, spotlight. So these 2 folders should always be left alone. Basically, there's no reason really ever for you to come in here and mess around with that stuff. And if something gets accidentally deleted from one of these folders, the computer probably will not work very well, and you would have to reinstall the operating system. It's not that big of a deal, but still a little bit of a pain. And then the final folder over here is users. So users, because you could have multiple users sharing one computer, each user is going to have its own specific area on your Mac. And in this case, if we look at mine, you have what's called a home folder. The home folder is where the Mac would like you to organize all your stuff in different folders such as documents. It's going to have a downloads area, maybe if you use Dropbox, Google Drive. So you can have a bunch of different little areas inside of this home folder. And this is a really important concept on the Mac, is that the home folder is really where your Mac expects you to keep most of your stuff, images, documents, files in all these different areas. And the better organized you are with your home folder, the better experience you're going to have. So to recap, you have your applications folder, 2 folders, library and system, that should pretty much always be left alone. It's all the little geeky tech help files that go in there. And then your users folder, where all your stuff is going to go, and then if you share the computer with other people, they're all going to have their own separate home folder where all their photos, all their documents, all their own stuff is going to be stored inside their home folder.